Bye. And they're off for the week. Hi everyone, welcome to Acres of Clay. As you saw, Sydney and Mackenzie took off. They are going to be gone all week. What do I got in my hair? Sydney and Mackenzie are going to be gone all week long. They are volunteering for our church. They have a kids camp and both of them serve different roles there. Mackenzie is going to be a counselor, where Sydney is going to be the IT guy, the audio visual kind of go-to guy. They're gone for the week and are going to be pouring love into a whole bunch of kids. Mackenzie has her own group of kids. There's like a total of maybe 175 kids from our church that are going, and Mackenzie has her own little cabin. So that's great. She gets to have some one-on-one time with some of those girls, and it will be an amazing time for all of them. Here back at home, well, we had a storm last night. The storm wasn't bad, but before the storm came, there was like a front that went through. It caused some wind, like a front normally does. Well, that front and the wind caused our power to go out. So about 10 o'clock last night until now, which is 7 p.m. the next day, we've been running the generator on and off. We don't want to run it we don't want to run it constantly because we like to give it a little break. But we are running the generator during milking times, and so that the calves can get fed and so that the cows have water. I'm outside. I'm going to assess some damage on the garden, see how that turned out, because this morning, I would have done it this morning. This morning was such a blur with chores and the kids leaving and stuff needing to get done that I didn't get out to the garden. So I'm going to look at the garden and see what happened. I'm bringing you along because I don't think I've shown you much of the garden lately. But these are my grapevines. You can see I have grapes, lots of little grapes growing. But first I have to do calf chores because Sanders is waiting for me. So that's what I'm going to do before I actually show you the garden. Priorities. Hi. What? Oh. You hurt your foot? Can you milk? What did you do? Twisted it?
Went around the corner and then as I turned it, I don't know what happened. That's been good.
Uh-oh. So the generator that we're running was big enough to run everything that we need it to run. We don't want to overdo it, but it runs the parlor, it runs the wells, it runs the calf barn, it runs our house. But how much rain did we get? It looks like we've got just over 2.5 inches. It's an older generator. It does a good job. You just don't want to keep it running 24 hours a day. You want to give it a break. And also the dilemma is that we have to get fuel for it. Our fuel tanks are on the other side of the road, which doesn't have power and it doesn't have a generator hooked up to it. And so what we're doing for fuel to keep that tractor going is siphoning fuel from one tractor into this one. So that's been a process. And yeah, one day it's our goal to one day purchase a natural gas generator that automatically starts up when the power goes off and it runs, and that's our goal. But we never really think about getting a generator until the power goes off for any length of time. And so this will be on our mind again. I have calves to feed, so I'm gonna do that once they're done milking, and once the milk has cooled, Kevin will turn the generator off for a few hours just to give it a break. But it's nice to be able to turn it on for a while. That way my refrigerator gets cold, my deep freeze, all that good stuff.
If you have a bunch of ice cubes, you won't have to keep turning your fridge and freezer on.
Alright, I'm going to try to make this really quick, or else I'm going to do it tomorrow, but the sun is starting to set. So I can give you a quick rendition tonight of what I've got growing and how it looks. This first bed is potatoes. Those ones are still growing. They have flowered, but the plants aren't dying down just yet. This is my zucchini, and I have a very slow growing Armenian cucumber. You can see it right here is one, and those will get pretty big. And so that's growing really super slow. I thought maybe it would take this trellis, but it hasn't yet. On the other side of this trellis, I have a melon, a Kajari melon, that I thought also was going to climb up this trellis, but that has seemed to be really slow growing as well. In this bed I have peppers. I have an open spot here which I had greens growing in it, and those are finished, so I could plant something else there. And some of these peppers this year have really been dealing with sunburn, and although it's starting to turn color, you can see that it's a little bit wrinkly here, which means it's exposed to the sun and the heat, the hottest part of the day. There aren't any leaves to help shade it, so that is causing a lot of peppers this year especially. I haven't noticed it as much other years, but this year I've noticed sunspots or sunburn on my peppers. So there's different peppers all in here, all different varieties. This one's broccoli, broccoli here, and then I have celery. I do have a head of broccoli that I need to harvest tomorrow because it's gonna flower if it doesn't soon, if I don't. So this is all my herbs and a random tree. This is summer squash, which this one needs to be harvested. And we've been eating summer squash and zucchini like crazy for the last several weeks. This one here, when you see a spot like this on the bottom, just means it didn't get pollinated or pollinated very well. And so a lot of the times this happens when the plant is really young and the first few. So I'm not sure why this one happened, because I've been harvesting off of this plant for quite a while, but since it didn't get pollinated, the chickens will eat it. Oh, the sky's really pretty. Would have been a pretty sunset to show you, but I didn't. Where do I start? So here's the zoo of trellises and sunflowers and just a vast array of different things growing. This here are peppers on this side, and then I do have in the middle of this bed is a row of potatoes. I don't know if you can see it this way. It's kind of overgrown. And then you see my ducks and the weeds. And then these are my green beans, and they need to be picked tomorrow. This, on this side of the trellis, is a Lupa Gourd, which, let me show you. Here's one growing. And then the duck, she likes to lay her eggs in here. And I haven't picked them up, so there's 4 of them. This side I have red noodle beans, which are growing super slow, but they're starting to go up this side. I have late planted cucumbers in here. They just haven't taken off this year. Not this batch. I have more cucumbers that took off better. But yeah. These are my banana peppers. These red ones are ready for harvest. I only harvest them when they're red and fully ripened. I don't harvest them when they're green. Alright, then I have sunflowers. These are all volunteer sunflowers and I let them grow. But I'm gonna go past them. And Ethan is feeding cows. And there's a picture of the sun. And this here is a gourd. I think one of my viewers sent me this seed. And so I have it planted growing up this trellis almost to the other side of the trellis. That's awesome. And you can see this is what the gourd's gonna look like. And there's a few more up in here. And yeah, so that's that. This sunflower is growing mightily. I did plant some cucumbers down here to grow up on this side of the trellis. Some of them didn't make it, but some of them did, so that's good. And then in here, I have more peppers. I just place peppers wherever I can because peppers are one of my favorite things to grow. So I have peppers, I have onions. These onions, well, like this one's done because it's already bent over. Anytime it's bent at the neck, you know it's done growing and it won't grow anymore. But these ones still are pretty good. Probably getting done. And then these are pole beans. I forgot what variety. I think they're a yellow pole bean. So those are growing up on that side of that trellis. This is funny. Alright, maybe it's not. But this pepper, the label says it's a grand bell, but you can tell these are not grand bells. And this one too says it's a grand bell. These are not grand bells. So I don't know if they cross-pollinated or what, but you have a unique pepper here, which I'm pretty sure I didn't mislabel. I do believe that these look like a Spanish mammoth or a giant Marconi, some type of cross-pollination, something like that. I have a random squash that I just let grow, and so that's growing up this trellis. Actually, I'm trying to train it to go up here with my lemon drop tomatoes, and it looks like I've got some that are ready again. I have been harvesting these little lemon drops. It's like a cherry tomato, and so that's on that side of this trellis. Nothing's at the top of it yet. These are purple pole beans, which are super slow. I've planted all the pole beans at the same time, so I don't know why they're so slow. And then I have dill, which the dill, that just grew voluntarily. I did not plant any dill this year. And you can already see some of it's going to seed. And I'll probably save some of these seeds, actually. On the back side of this trellis, well, I did have peas here. The peas are almost done. So I'm going to uproot them, and I'm not sure if I'm going to plant another row of peas here for this fall. I think I have peas going to go in somewhere else. But I do need to get them pulled up here soon because they're not growing. With the heat, they just kind of stopped. And then I have Brussels sprouts. You can see this darker green. Those plants are Brussels sprouts. So I have a whole row of those, and they're growing good, other than, you know, the cabbage moth like those. This is a squash. You can eat it young like this, or I believe you can let it go and eat it as a winter squash. I have a melon, like a muskmelon, growing up here, and I do have some little melons. I saw one the other day. Oh, right, here's one. See it? And then there's a random marigold, which I think reseeded itself from last year. Over here is all my popcorn, and some of it is starting to tassel. I have all different varieties, and so you're going to see different sizes. Back here is a popcorn that I just bought from a local grocery store and planted, but most of these ones are like heirloom popcorns. So yeah, all different varieties, colors, sizes, fun stuff. And these are sunflower, a row of these are my sunflowers. I have a couple different varieties in here, and then my gladiolas. So this is my row of tomatoes that I think these are my slicer tomatoes, if I remember right. And I have these all trimmed. I just did that not that long ago. I trim underneath about a foot up to take off all the leaves. I don't do single stem like some people will just do the single stem. I do several stems. So I let the some of the shoots go. So this is the main leaf, and a lot of these leaves you can trim off. And then if you don't want the extra shoots and you just want one main stem, then you would take off all of these shoots that are in the V of the main stem, and then the leaf, you can take that off. This is what will flower and make forth more fruit. I like to do many stems, not just one stem, and just let the fruit grow just like that. Here's a couple rows of potatoes, and then another row of paste tomatoes. Here is called a Italian red tomato, which I really like the whole shape of this one. I think that's really nice. And then we'll come down here. Ooh, it's soft here. It's kind of muddy. Come down here, and these are called, what are these called? Striped Romans. These are a paste type tomato, and look how pretty they are. They're kind of variegated and really, really pretty. If you can see differences of the colors. Looks like I have a little wind damage right here with this tomato. I'll have to tie that up tomorrow. It's getting dark out. But my peppers here, doing pretty good. This isn't my greatest bed. I just felt like this is a brand new bed that I put in this spring, and I don't know if it's the soil or what, but I feel like it hasn't done as good as it could do. These peppers are gonna need some support or just stay laying because of the weight of these peppers. These are a Big Bertha, and Big Bertha has big peppers and sometimes takes down the plant, so it sometimes needs to be staked to help it support all the weight of the fruit. I have an oversized zucchini. You think you want some of it too, Dakota? I don't think you do. I'm giving it to the goats here, see if they liked it. You guys want it? Can you smell it? Do I need to break it? How about if I throw it in your mush? What are you gonna do with that? Is it too big? So while I'm out here feeding Mackenzie's animals, let me tell you that our power came back on, thankfully. It was just under 2 days, off for 2 days. So when power goes out on the dairy farm, it's kind of a big deal. So you have to have some sort of way to generate your own electric. We do have a PTO driven generator that the guys hooked up, and we ran that periodically throughout the day. So what it looks like here on the farm, when the power goes out here on the farm, we lose not only our household, like the deep freezers, the refrigerators, the things like that. We also lose our well water, so nothing can get fed any water, meaning all the animals are without water until you start generating again. And my calf barn is run by electric, so all the calves get their milk, their feedings through a automated system which is run by electric, and so none of them are able to get their feedings while the electric is off. You can't milk, of course. The milk tank and the coolers, they can't cool your milk, so you have to make sure that you generate long enough to cool the milk down, and then it will hold the temperature. Once it's cold, it will hold it for several hours, so you don't have to worry about that too often. Another thing to think about when we go without power is if it's hot, we can't run our big overhead fans in the freestall barns. Thankfully, it was cool enough where we didn't need to run the fans. And another thing, we do pasture some of our cattle. All of the electric fence doesn't work either. So we have to think about the cows that are out in pasture. Are they gonna realize that there's no electric to the fence? Are they gonna get out? Lots to think about when the power goes out.